back to Cruise In, presented by RK Motors, Charlotte. Roger, a gentleman just walked by and I thought had the line of the day. He said, "This isn't like the Vega that I used to drive." I'll bet you hear that one a lot. What exactly do you have here?
I do. It's a 1958 Facel Vega.
Facel Vega.
And Facel built automobiles from 1954 to 64. And one of the unusual things is they imported the Chrysler driveline into France to install in the cars. This particular car has a 392 Chrysler Hemi engine, dual 4-barrel carburetors.
And that was in it?
That was in it. And Facel finally went out of business when they tried to design and build their own engine. And it was a complete disaster and put the company out of business. But as long as they were importing engines and drivelines, they did very well. They're hand-built custom cars. They build about 100 a year. Heads of state, presidents, celebrities, people of that nature was what bought the cars. Very expensive. They were a $10,000 car in 1958. And in that period of time, you could buy a loaded Chevrolet two-door hardtop for about $2,500. So this was in the same price as the Rolls-Royce and all the high-end luxury cars at the time.
So a French-made car that had fabulous styling and needed American ingenuity under the hood.
Yeah, and they married them together and they just did a wonderful job, and it still shows all these years later.
Well, it doesn't look like a car that was designed over 50 years ago, that's for sure.
Well, I know. It still looks good, the styling and the shape of it.
Where did you find this?
I originally ran across one of these over at Auburn, Indiana at the car corral and fell in love with the styling in the car, but I couldn't deal with the guy on the car. I come home and looked in the Hemmings.
And you knew what it was?
I knew what it was then. And I looked in the Hemmings Motor Car magazine, and this one was available in Strongsville.
Wow.
It had been stored for many, many years in a garage. Of course, it didn't look like this when I started on it. But the car's come back very nicely and shows well. People love it.
And you've owned it how long, Roger?
I've had it 20 years.
How do you restore a French-made car sitting here in the United States?
I was very lucky to find a gentleman in California that had all the parts that I needed. I would not like to have to do it again, but I really got lucky. And some of the parts that were not available, I handmade. The trim over the tail lights was a European-style trim that was not available in this country. I hand-fabricated all of the trim and the tail lights.
What features on this car jump out at you? Because obviously it's a different car than anything that anybody here today is used to.
Well, some of the things you probably wouldn't notice originally, but every piece of trim on this car is stainless steel, even including the bumpers. Facel was in the business of manufacturing stainless parts for the aircraft industry, office furniture, kitchens. They also built auto bodies for Simca and all of the French Ford cars. They also did some prototype work for Bentley. I did all the body work myself. I did all the mechanical, including rebuilding the engine, transmission, rear end. I did the body work, all of the paint work. But I enjoyed people looking at it, and we have so many wonderful comments and so many thank yous today for bringing the car to the show.
You deserve them. It's a great car, and you did a great job restoring it.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
David, it's a 19...